Imagine a planet of little TJ lasers, all highly skilled in weapons and biotic tactics, with me as absolute ruler. If you don't want to be a part of this incredible vision, then you can get a space taxi back to Planet Idiot.
I'm TJ Laser, expert with lasers and phasers. Death to the alien scourge.
Where are we?
Lasers and phasers. Lasers and phasers.
Hello everyone, welcome to the round number 3 of our Will-to-Will Tier 2 Championship, and today we are taken by the calendar to the Chinese economical capital and to the Shanghai International Circuit from the swamplands that were occupying this area of the outskirts of Shanghai. A miracle basically of engineering allowed us to get these circuits that debuted back in 2004, and since then the layout has been known for putting the machines and the drivers to the test. Through the next 26 laps we are going to see the cars display to their full extent the cornering speed and direction change through the seemingly never-ending corners of sectors 1 and 2, as well as the top speed and deceleration capabilities through the very quick sector number 3. As you guys can see, we have C2, C3 and C4 compounds available to the drivers today. As we move to the standings, we have Lyra championship leader with 2 races, 2 wins, with Lasher in P2, his teammate 17 points behind. Kuba isn't too far away in P3 as Color Lonely occupies 4th with 20 points, 1 point ahead of Black Widow, who closes the top 5. After that we have Brazian with 17, Crime 7 points behind, Rob Stark in 8th with exactly 8 points, 1 ahead of his teammate Proxa, as George in the Force India or Racing Point occupies the last of the top 10 seaters. Moving now to the constructors, we have, as you see, the leading team of the Haas Rich Energy F1 team with 83 points to their name, almost more than double actually of Red Bull, who sits in second with 36. Mercedes not too far behind with only 33 points, as then we have Racing Point with 25 in fourth, 10 points ahead of Ferrari, who follow in 5th with 15 points. Then we have Alfa Romeo in 6th with 10 points, McLaren in 7th with 2 points to their name, and Toro Rosso are the last of the point scorers with only 1 point to their name, as Renault and Williams haven't scored any points so far in this season. Now we can get ourselves into our lobby and we just sort everything out in our second, or not in our, but in my second monitor. And again, the game isn't displaying any sounds to me through qualifying. This will be fixed for the race. It's just when I'm messing around with my other monitor during the loading, this happens. Unfortunately, I have to present the track to you all, so I can't really avoid that one. But yeah, looks like we won't be having the sound of the cars for this qualifying session. Let's follow ourselves with Lyra. The championship leader is currently on the softs, so we are getting on board with him as is about to get started with his flying lap. Just taking a look at that Rolex sign for your braking reference for the last corner. Try not to go too wide or you get invalidated on the lap even before it started. And there you go. Mode number 5 on the RS. It's the tricky place to spot your braking zone at, about 40 meters away from the corner, but you start braking down progressively while turning in, while downshifting. Trying to keep the car under control can be quite tricky, especially when the tires are starting to fall off. Getting himself through turn number 4 up through the gears, flat out through the right hand king of turn number 5 before getting hard on the brakes 100 meters away from turn number 6. Smoothly on the power as you try to put the traction down, and away he goes through the sweeping left and right corners of turns 7 and 8. Manages to keep the car nice control, nice change of direction there from the Haas as you now go for what is basically a double apex left-hander of corners 9 and 10. Gets away cleanly as well, accelerating on the curb, which might be tricky, but he got away cleanly before going hard on the brakes once again into the snail section. Turns number 12 and 13 before getting himself putting the power down as smooth as he can. The car is understeering a little bit, but he still kept the foot planted to the floor, opening the RS now midway through this 1 kilometer straight, one of the longest kilometers of the entire one of the longest straights of the entire Formula 1 calendar, before going hard on the brakes once again, basically shaving over 200 kpms on the approach to corner number 14. And then we get to the last corner, 15th corner is this one, and it gets to, oh no, he actually is slowing down. So he gets only second place, 33.9. Brazian gets the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:33.9. 32.3. Let's take a look at Lasher, who is, no, he just started his flying lap. Let's take a look at Aziox, who is closing on the end of his lap. Trying to get there. There is an Alfa Romeo behind him, so I'm guessing it's Taraku who is going to finish his lap soon after the McLaren. Let's see what Aziox does. The Frenchman hasn't had the greatest start of the season. 9th place at Australia, a DNF at Bahrain, gets 6th place so far on the softs. Let's see what Taraku does. He's currently finishing his lap on the hards, and we have one of the Ferraris behind him. I believe it is Rob Stark, as Taraku gets himself 8th place on hards, beating his teammate, and Rob Stark just started his flying lap. We're going to catch up to him in a moment. And Solo on the Williams is just managing through the hairpin, about to close out his lap, but it looks like he went down to 0, so maybe he just got his lap nullified. So we're going to take a look at Rob Stark. Of course, you guys weren't able to see that in the broadcast last time around, but the Ferrari driver got a penalty. Not sure what for. I didn't get that information, but he did get a penalty that demoted him down to a P12. So his teammate Progza was the one to claim P10 at the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix. And there was another driver, Taraku, who finished the race in 12th, and with the penalty of the man you have on the image, got himself promoted to P11. Lasher gets the new fastest lap for the race. So not for the race, for the qualifying session. He's on the softs, 132.7. He will want to improve on that, because those tires have already been used for 2 flying laps. So he's going to try to improve. If he's going to start on the softs, I don't know as to what extent he was pushing on that lap. You can see mode number 3. This is a good camera angle to see exactly how much fuel he has, how much ERS he has, what ERS mode he's using, in case we didn't have the telemetry in this game. That would be quite nice to see. Manages to go quite wide there at the exit of turn number 13 before going 14 and into this last corner now, opening the RS, and is going to cross over the line, and it is going to be 9th place for him at the moment. I'm going to take a look at George, who's also on the mediums and is about to close out his flying lap. Actually, before that, we are going to take a look at Anselo. Is he going to the pits, or is he going to actually... no, he's going to the pits. Anselo had his first lap nullified. He managed to still get 36.5, but now he's getting back into the pits. Cohen Blake is already starting his flying lap as well, just like his teammate Carrigan is closing in at the end of his out lap, and George moves up to place number 8. Looks like he's the fastest so far out of the drivers that have qualified on the hard tires. Taking a look now at Cohen Blake, he is in the soft. Taking a look at his records, not very famous. A DNF at Australia, and couldn't better a 15th place at Bahrain. In fact, none of the Renault drivers have scored any points so far this season, so this could be a great opportunity for both of them to have a good performance, to get their season started in terms of point scoring, to get hopefully a good haul of points for both themselves and the team. But we are going to take a look at what performance they do in qualifying before taking into consideration what they can or cannot do into the race. Getting himself now on the transition from turn 12 to turn 13, almost got caught on the curb rather on the outside. The car is understeering a little bit, but he kept his foot planted to the ground, going up through the gears. DRS is now getting wide open. Mode number 4 on his DRS. Debatably, mode number 4 on a straight line on pure top speed is better than mode number 5, as mode number 4 reaches a higher top speed. Getting himself off of corners number 14 and 15, and gets now through the last corner number 16, gets to open DRS, going to cross over the line, and it is going to be 2nd place. Look at that, look at how close it was between Cohen, Blake and Lasher. 132.7, brilliant lap there from the Renault driver. Going to actually take a look at Gary Gunn, who's still in the first sector. So let's take a look at Overseer, who is also just starting his flying lap. Colored Lonely is improving on his mediums. He's currently through the middle sector. Progza is also just started with his flying lap. So let's take a look at Colored Lonely, see what he does. Going to actually go on board with the Racing Point driver, as he's now getting just started with the third sector, getting up through the gears. You need to be smooth on the power application. You really don't want the car to lose the rear on you. Not only you have to take the time to catch, to regain the control of the car, but the time you spend controlling the car is time you spend not accelerating, so that compromises your entire run through this 1 kilometer straight. He managed to do that quite nicely. Gets hard on the brakes once again into this second to last corner. Of course, this little kink right after the hairpin is officially counted as a corner as well. That's why this one is corner number 16. He's going to cross over the line, and is he going to improve? Yes, he does improve to a 1:33.0. Let's take a look at oversteer, who's about to get his lap done. In the meantime, Gary Gunn improves his time, or sets a time that gets himself in 5th place. Oh, there's a bit of diciness there. There's oversteer is on a flying lap, and looks like Progza is also on a flying lap, so they got in a bit of a contest there. But then Progza went into the pits. If you are not going to complete your flying lap, why are you messing around with other people's laps? I don't quite understand that one, but maybe the stewards are going to take a look at that. Overseer is currently in P11. Didn't quite notice if he was able to improve or not, but nonetheless, it's P11 at the moment for the Toro Rosso driver. Brazian gets new fastest lap, 1:32.6 from the Red Bull driver. Great job there on the softs for the British driver of the Red Bull. Going to take a look at further down the order. We have Taraku, we have also Crime. Oh, Taraku just started this flying lap. Crime is improving by half a second, so I'm going to be interested in seeing where he ends up is qualifying a lap, but you're going to take a look at that in a second. And Solo, where is he? He's closer to finishing his lap. He's not improving though. He's actually slower by 3/10 in the lap so far. So let's see how that goes for him. We also have yellow flags through sector 2, so maybe someone slowing down, trying to give space to the cars ahead. So the flags were quite quickly lifted off, so nothing to worry about. Let's see what Anselo does. He's going to get himself crossing over the line, and it is going to be, he improves, but by only 2/10. I don't know if his lap was nullified, but he did not get out of 15th place. We have Crime about to close out his lap. His teammate is also still in 3rd sector. Let's see what he does. He actually slows down, crosses the line in 9th place with a 1:34.4. So some drivers are trying to just take some practice laps on the softs. They are not actually trying to qualify on those. Going to take a look at the best. His best lap time is on soft, so let's see about that. Lasher improves into a 1:32 flat. Brilliant lap there from the As driver as well. Gets himself up into P1, and Taraku improves to 9th place, demoting his teammate to P10. Aziox, the Frenchman of the McLaren, is already run out of ERS. That's not going to help him at all through this 3rd sector. As you can see, for most of it, he has been without ERS and demotes Crime out of the top 10. Gets himself a 1:34.1. Black Widow is still in the pits, Goziag also still in the pits, both of them not posting any lap times whatsoever so far. I have heard in chat before the race that Black Widow is feeling a little bit ill, so she is trying to endure that one to get a good performance, hopefully, in this race. Let's see what the Red Bull driver does. Already got a podium at Bahrain. She could have won the race. She had the opportunity to maybe win the race, but she did a mistake that denied her the win and also demoted her back down to P3. But she showed her quickness, so hopefully, despite being ill, she can inspire herself in Hamilton at Germany, and obviously not get the same kind of result, but get some inspiration to get a good performance and come out with a good amount of points today. Garrigan is on his out lap. They've gone out of the pits. Overseer is also on his out lap. We have Progza. I'm going to try to find out. Progza is about to start is a flying lap. Rob Stark is still through the 1st sector, and Overseer is following Rob Stark. So let's take a look at Progza, and then Gary Gunn, and then Overseer and Rob Stark. This will be the order in which I'm going to take a look at them. Lira is also out of the pits. So let's see how that one goes. Progza is getting himself. We are going to jump on board with the Austrian driver of the Ferrari, getting down through the gears into turn number 2 on the transition into now turn number 3, and smooth on the power through number 4. Looks like he did that quite nicely. He's going now up through the gears to the king of turn number 5. Let's see what his time, improving by half a second, so he did much better through the first sector there. So massive improvement there from Progza. At this moment you could even challenge Radek for 6th place unless he keeps on improving on his lap time. He turned in a little bit too early for my liking into this turn number 8 before getting on this basically double apex left-hander of turns 9 and 10. Lira still on his outlap, is going to get the hell out of the way as Progza continues on his merry way. 7/10 is the improvement now between this current lap and the previous lap, almost touching the curb. That curb can almost act as a rail, and sometimes it starts to get off of it once you get on top of it, which compromises your run through this 1 kilometer back straight. DRS wide open, mode number 5 on the engine of that Ferrari. Let's see, he's going now hard on the brakes, down into second gear, down to basically 60 kpms as he gets smooth on the power, or kph rather, smooth on the power, getting to corner number 16. He's going to cross over the line, a little bit of a tank slapper, and it is going to be second place from Progza, 132.5, a great lap from him, as we are now going to jump to Colored Lonely. Went back into the pits, so I'm not sure what is about that one. We have Overseer and Rob Stark who are also about to close out their laps. Let's see how that one goes for him. Overseer also is I was going to say his teammate, but that was a Williams, not a Toro Rosso. Let's see what Overseer does, the Indian driver of the Toro Rosso. He is looking considerably fast in this lap. Let's see how he does, getting himself now through this last corner. Is going to open the RS at the... Oh, he went very wide. That might be a nullification of his lap, and improves by 7/10, but I'm not sure if that actually got considered on the table. So let's take a look at Lira, our championship leader, once again. It's always a pleasure to see this man drive. Let's see what he does. In the meantime, we're going to keep tabs on Black Widow, as Rob Stark is also close to finishing his lap. So let's take a look actually at Widow, as Lira is a little bit further behind in terms of position on track. Let's see what the Red Bull driver does. Smooth on the power coming out of turn number 13, getting herself some good old DRS. Let's take a look at the top speed, 132. 233, 333, as Overseas gets disqualified from the session for driving in the wrong way, so maybe spun and trying to rejoin the track, had a mistake there, and he is disqualified from the session. He's going to start from last. Black Widow getting a little bit wide, not sure if he's going to get disqualified. 7th place for Black Widow, and new pole for Lira, new provisory pole from Lira, as we have the clock running down. Lasher is able to get started on a flying lap. Let's see how that goes for him. Cohen Blake is already well into the third sector, getting through corner number 13. Let's see what he does, but before that we're going to take a look at Radek. Radek is still in the first sector, so let's get back at Cohen, as we have Progza, Colored Lonely, Taraku, Aziox, and then Solo already been shown the checkered flag, so they are not going to improve on those positions. At the best case scenario, they maintain them. Cohen Blake makes a mistake, going to abort his lap. Going now to take a look, where is Crime? Crime is about to close out his lap. I believe Lira has retired from the session, and Crime gets himself P14, improves but by only a tenth. That is not enough to move him up the order, and it is P14 for him so far. Black Widow is going to take the car to the pits, already completed a flying lap. Radek is a bit further up the track than Lasher. Brazian is also in sector number 3, so it is going to be Radek, then Lasher, then than Brazian, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see what the Mercedes driver does. The Czech driver of the Mercedes is going to get through the last corner, is going to cross over the line, DRS wide open, crosses the checkered flag, improves to a 6th place. Let's see what Lasher does now, also crosses the line and maintains P2, improved by 2 tenths, but just not enough to get to Lira's lap time. And after that we have Brazian, who's also about to cross over the line, P3 for the British driver of the Red Bull, getting himself in the first place of the second row of the grid. Progza gets shoved down to P4. Great performance from him, especially compared to his teammate who couldn't go above 11th place despite being on the mediums. Carlo Lonely, great performance, fastest out of the drivers who qualified on the mediums, going to start in P7, so great performance by him. Goziag, also with a good qualifying performance. Goziag, the Canadian, hasn't been able to finish both races so far on this season, so starting from P8 might give him a chance to get a good start to the season. We finally have sound back in the game, so that is good to see. And we are going to get ourselves through the official results in a second. So, I'm getting experience, which is great. I really enjoy that one. But there we have Lira in P1, Lasher less than a 10 separating the Haas drivers, showing why they are leading the championship and why in terms of the constructors, the Haas team has almost double, or more than double rather, of the second place Red Bull in the constructors. Brazen in P3, Progza P4, Cohen Blake P5, Radek P6, Colored Lonely 7th, Koziak 8th, Black Widow 9th, and Gary Gunn gets a 5th place grid penalty. So that's going to be interesting. Going to start from 15th, and it is going to be the Ferrari of Rob Stark starting from P10 for this race. The skies are quite cloudy at the moment. I have no idea if we are going to have any rain. Nobody informed me in terms of the forecast for this race, so we actually can't tell if this race is going to become wet at any point. At the moment, the skies are dark, but they aren't raining, throwing water down into the planet at the moment, or at least into this region of Shanghai. The track is dry at the moment, so the drivers are going to start, at least in top 10, are going to start with the tires they qualified on. It's going to be interesting to also see what are the tire choices for the ones starting outside of the top 10. Going to enable all that good stuff and get ourselves the tires. So, as you can see, everyone below Black Widow, of course Black Widow and Rob Star, Black Widow, oh, there's actually contact already between Lira and Lasher. Both of them get teleported into the grid marks. So let's follow Brazen. He's now the leader of the queue. But as I was going to say, it's quite interesting. Black Widow is going to start the race on the tires she qualified on. Rob Stark is going to start from P10, but on brand new tires because of the penalty from Garrigan. Georgia is the only one, sorry, not the only one, it's Georgia, Crime and Solo qualifying on the hards. So it is going indeed to be quite interesting to see, especially as Gary's gun qualified in the top 10 on those sets of softs. I'm not sure if he's able to take a new set of tires because he's actually starting from 15th, but if he's not, that might put a massive damper on his chances. Of course, he is starting the race on softs and his rivals are all on harder compounds, so he might have an advantage there, but it might be quite tricky for him to make his way back into the points paying position. So Lira and Lasha, I don't know if I can take a look at them. No, the camera has glitched as they are just still parked at the grid slots. So yeah, Brazian, taking a look at him, he got 5th place in Australia, 7th place at Bahrain, qualifies now in P3. Let's see if he can pull off the one stop and if he can finally get a podium. Of course, Black Widow did not beat him at Australia. Black Widow finished Australia in 8th, so Brazen beat her in Australia, but then got beaten at Bahrain. Let's see if Brazen can take a 2-1 lead in terms of the finishing position in the comparison between the teammates. Let's see, we have everyone getting on their grid marks. We have the Williams of Ansalo being the last one on the grid, so just waiting for him to get settled. And everyone gets on their grid marks. A bit of lagginess there from Gary Gunn. Let's see how that one goes. And there you have it. The camera is quite bugging on me. There we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go for the Chinese Grand Prix. We have a good start there from Rob Stark in the Ferrari, already jumped 2 positions. He's on the inside of Black Widow. Lyra also has to defend from Lasher. Brazen in P3, Proxa in P4 battling, and there's a Renault going wide. That's Cohen Blake going wide, and the S-Spun is on the gravel. Black Widow also making a mistake. There is contact with Rob Stark, I believe, as well. There's some carbon fiber flying. Lasher makes a mistake, drops down to P3. Proxa is going to say thank you very much, moves up to P3 himself. Colored Lonely has a chance, he's going for a dive bomb. What a maneuver from Colored Lonely instead. Oh, that was too good to be true. The Racing Point driver drops down to P5 as he overshoots the corner. Aziox already gets a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting, so Proxa moves up to P3, Lasher P4, Colored Lonely. There's also yellow flags. I'm not sure that is Aziox taking considerable amounts of damage on his front wing. Gary Gunn keeping himself out of trouble, already up to P11. Black Widow, maybe because of her sickness, is down to P10. George and Taraku are battling it out for P8. He's coming back to the inside of turn number 13 on the Alfa Romeo. Looks like it's going to be a traction battle, and yes, the Racing Point does get the advantage, moves up to a P8. Jumping back to the lead, we have Lyra leading, followed by Brazen, Proxa, Lasher losing out. That might have been his chance of taking the position from his teammate and trying to finally get a win of a race. George also attacking Rob Stark. There's actually a collision between the two, and they are both of them going very wide. Black Widow is going to get much closer to those two guys ahead as Rob Stark goes very wide. Black Widow says thank you very much, moves up a place. Gary Gunn also gets himself promoted into the points paying positions as we have Aziox flying by the background of that camera shot to get himself in the pits. Goziak gets promoted to P15. Another disastrous start from both McLarens as Goziak, qualified in P8, is demoted to P15. So once again, the disastrous start of the race for the McLaren team. Proxa is chasing down Brazen, even though he's losing time. He's already 1 second behind. Brazen is shown as 25 seconds behind the Haas of Lyra. Lyra is very good, is not that good, I'm afraid, though. Radek is also very close to the back of the Racing Points of Colored Lonely. There might be some lag, though. Why is that not showcasing to me? Yeah, there is totally some lag. Colored Lonely. Okay, Radek is not where the timing is showing. Gary Gunn battling it out with Rob Stark as we have a battle for position between Taraku and Radek. Radek is going to put the power down smoother, and Taraku, oh, I was going to say Taraku is going to have a big disadvantage there, but Radek under steering, having to lift off a little bit. Taraku gets the chance to come back at the shack driver of the Mercedes. Let's see how that goes for him, and the Alfa Romeo is already in front. Colored Lonely, was that a mistake? We had the yellow flags, and Colored Lonely had a moment there with Lasher. Maybe it was a mistake from Lasher instead of the Racing Point driver, and Colored Lonely had a chance to move up into the top 4 there. We have one of the Mercedes, that is Radek, the only Mercedes taking part of this race, diving into the pits. Black Widow is also going into the pits, and we have Rob Stark as well diving into the pit lane for potentially a replacement of front wing. Let's take a look at that one. Yes, front wing change for Radek. Black Widow is also changing it, and Rob Stark is changing front wing as well. We also have Crime going into the pits. Is that going to be a front wing change? Looks like it might be one as well. Yes, front wing change for 4 drivers this early in the Grand Prix, going to take a knock at their chances for all of them. Looks like the gaps between each driver has already normalized, so Colored Lonely is 8 tenths away from Lasher. Lyra is starting to pull away from Brazian. Proxa is basically at the same distance to P2 as P2 is to P1. Then Lasher and Colored Lonely are 2 seconds behind, over 2.5 seconds behind the top 3. Taraku 3 seconds behind the duo, almost 4 seconds behind the duo we have on screen, as we have George in P7 in the second racing point. Colored Lonely there, looked like he might have a better exit, looks like he does so. Even before the RS, he was already side by side with the AS driver. He's going to sail past using the RS. Easy maneuver there from Colored Lonely, moving up to a P4, beating Lasher on a set of mediums. So not the greatest start of the race for Lasher, going to struggle a little bit on that set of softs. Now, looking further down the order, the gaps have normalized. Everyone is about 1 second away from everybody else, so we won't have battles from those guys anytime soon, unless of course there is a battle. So let's take a look at the amount of positions gained. So Gary Gunn and Solo have gained 7 places from the start. Those are the 2 drivers with the most amount of places gained. Cohen Blake is back in the pits. He already dropped 6 places from the start, the same as Radek. Taraku improved by 6 places. He started P12. He is up to P6. The only driver that hasn't changed a position since the start has been Lyra. He got pole and held P1 since the start, already 2.5 seconds away from the second place Brazian, and Lasher is also starting to lose time to the racing points of Colored Lonely, despite being on softer tires. Trying to take a look, is there any sort of damage? Yes, there is damage. The left side of the front wing of Lasher is damaged, so that is why the AS driver, the Romanian driver of the AS, is struggling to keeping up with Colored Lonely. Of course, Lonely is not going to complain about that one. He's already up to P4, the same position as where he finished in Australia. Even though he got a bit of a hiccup at Bahrain, finished outside of the top 5, it was still a respectable 6th place, but it looks like this is where he belongs. The top 5 is where he belongs in terms of pure pace, and is currently matching his best finishing position so far. He's starting to hunt down Progs. The top 3 are going to start struggling a little bit on their tires. Let's see how the race develops for all 4 of them. Of course, Lyra on pace alone is going to start pulling away, but as their tires start to degrade, Colored Lonely might become a main contender for the race win. There, the number 13 is going to try to take advantage of the of the higher rate of tire wear for the cars ahead, to try to make some moves. Let's see how that one develops. Is already under a second from Progress, so you can see really how much quicker, how much comfortable it is on those mediums. And George is also keeping to catch up to Taraku despite having harder tires, just like Colored Lonely. George is getting up to Taraku, and it is going to be quite interesting to see how both racing points improve their positions throughout the race. There is Colored Lonely going on the inside of Prox into turn number 12. That might cost him a little bit of time into his rivals, because that's not really an overtaking spot. He had a go at it. He's actually going to get a better exit as well. It looks like, yes, it looks like he has superior traction on his tires, and it's going to be now a drag race. Of course, Proxag might be able to compensate the fact he didn't get the best exit of the world with the fact that his tires naturally have more traction, but then Colored Lonely has the flap wide open on the rear of his racing point. He gets a little bit wide on exit, so Proxa might have something to say. No, it does not, and Colored Lonely moves up to P3, just like George moves up to P6, getting past Taraku, so great maneuver there. And George has left the session. A disconnection there from George. Very unfortunate stuff, as we have Lyra already in the pits. Brazian is also in the pits. Proxa, so the top 3 basically, until Colored Lonely overtaken them all, the top 3 are going to the pits. Lyra, let's see where he comes out of the pits. Of course, these drivers might pay attention, or have to pay attention about, as Rob Stark is out of the race. Probably a crash coming out of the hairpin, and he is out of the race to Ferrari driver. Very unfortunate stuff. But yeah, Lyra comes out of the pits in 7th, Brazian in P8 on hards instead of the mediums for the AS driver, and then Proxa in P10 behind Goziak, the Canadian. Is a little bit of a tank slapper there for Goziak, and he's still going to put up a fight. Of course, his tires are a bit damaged, but no, actually Proxa managed to have smooth sailing past the McLaren up into P9. Jumping to the front again, Carl Lonely is inheriting P1, is going to try to pull away with it. Lasher in P2, Taraku in P3. Georgie is very, very unfortunate to have that disconnection, but hopefully he can join rather quick to the race and still guarantee himself a top 5 finishing position. Garrigan is not too far away though, he's not going to have DRS at his disposal at this point, but I'm pretty sure, oh, Lyra overtaking Anselo. Anselo is on 5 lap old hard, so not only he has harder tires but also harder tires, so Lyra is going to be able to sail on past up to P6. He's going to start hunting down on the top 5. Lasher is going to the pits. Garrigan hasn't pitted yet, it looks like, so let's see where Lasher comes out. Oh no, Garrigan does go into the pits, so both soft drivers get into the pits. Georgia at least he's on the hard, so his AI isn't supposed to pit anytime soon, but it is a real shame. If he could at least get back to the control of his car, he could potentially battle with Lyra or try to hold him up for Colored Lonely to have the best chance at winning possible, but like this it's going to be an easy target for Lyra's charge as Black Widow gets promoted to P9 due to Garrigan and Goziag's pit stops. Lasher comes out of the pits in P8, Goziag comes out in last place, and Garrigan comes out of the pits on brand new hards in 10th place. Still, the clouds look quite threatening. I haven't seen any openings. Going to try. This is a good shot to look at the sky. I don't see any openings in the sky, so not sure if the race is going to maintain itself like this, or if rain is actually coming. It's going to be something to look at in the laps to come. Brazian is starting to getting himself hunting down, and Solo, of course, he is still trying to hunt down Lyra. He's about 3 seconds behind the As driver though. DRS is wide open on the back of the Red Bull, and you can see the difference in top speed. Is really closing down on that Williams. Is going to actually have to do sort of a dive bomb maneuver there, and whoo, that was close, forcing Anselo a little bit wide. Of course, Brazian has 5 laps fresher tires, but those are still also hard tires, so he had to be careful with that one. Lyra pulls away, especially with that battle. Brazian lost out in quite a bit of time, especially as Lyra gets himself the fastest lap of the race. Georgia hasn't been able to get back into control of his car, and the number 19 is demoted to P4. Cohen Blake is having a little bit of a tangle there with Radek. The Renault didn't get wing damage. Does the Mercedes get wing damage? No. Looks like Cohen Blake saw that he made a mistake and is in the wall. Speaking of mistakes, Cohen Blake is in the wall. Is he going to be able to take it to the pits? No, he's not going to try and get disqualified, but a mistake coming out of turn number 16, and there's considerable amounts of damage on the left hand side of that front wing. Georgia is saying in chat that he doesn't have an invite, so he can't come in. I don't have him as a friend, I don't think, otherwise I would invite him. Yeah, I cannot invite him, so let me, I'm actually going to try to get him. Give me a moment, guys. I'm going to try and get him through in the lobby. So it's George 209, right? George 209. And I can't, I added him as a friend. When he accepts, I can invite him back into the lobby. So let's take a look at the moment. Koziak gets himself up into a P14. Cohen Blake is nursing heavy damage there on his front wing, as you can see. And getting back to Lyra, who's just 7 tenths away from Tarak, who hasn't pitted yet, and Carled Lonely isn't that far up the order. Of course, you must take into consideration Lyra is probably going to pit once again. Georgia gets overtaken once again. And it is unfortunate to see. He was doing a great job so far. He's still in a very good position, P5 for him, but he's going to get overtaken by Anselo rather soon as well. Lyra, oh, we have yellow flags in sector 3. Aziox looks like committed a mistake. Let's try to see what happened to him. Maybe he lost the rear coming out of the last corner. Sorry, not last corner, but from the hairpin. but doesn't look like he has damage, so he's going to carry on his merry way. Lyra hasn't been able to overtake Taraku just yet. He's going to have to wait until the DRS zone to do so. The skies have opened up a little bit, so looks like there is no rain to spice up this race. So he's going to get himself in prime position to hunt down Taraku. Looks like the Alfa Romeo actually got a better exit there, but Lyra is going to take the slipstream mode number 4 on his ERS as well, and look at that, he's already side by side with the Alfa Romeo driver even before having DRS, and that's going to be smooth sailing for him as the number 6 moves up to P2. Now it is going to be about Lyra versus Colored Lonely. Colored Lonely has had a brilliant race so far, 0 mistakes whatsoever. Didn't have the best of qualifyings. Let us take a look at the moment. Yes, he's 6 places up on his qualifying position, but he goes into the pits. So is he going to take the one stop? What tires is he on? He is on hard, so he's going to take those tires for 18 laps until the end of the race, and he rejoins the track down in P6. He does have clean air around him, so he is going to be able to take care of that one. I'm going to invite... I actually cannot invite him. I'm going to invite him to watch. Maybe if he gets himself in the lobby, then he can take control of the car, but I got him invited. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to take back into control of his car or not. Colored Lonely is going to have the easy overtaking maneuver into his teammate or his teammate's ghost car, but as you can see, most cars in the top 5 haven't pitted yet, so Colored Lonely and Lyra, I would say, are the main contenders for this race win. Of course, Brazen is also in a shot of doing so, but he is at least 3.5 seconds behind Lyra, so I would say he's a bit of an outsider at the moment. Let's see how that one goes for him. Yeah, let's see how that one goes. I'm not sure if George is going to be able to get back. Maybe Rob Stark. I'm going to try to message... No, Rob Stark left the session, didn't he? So yeah, it is quite unfortunate. But if he could get himself... I invited him to see the broadcast. I didn't invite him to the race. So yeah, it is quite unfortunate, but I can't... Maybe if he can talk with Rob Stark, maybe he can get himself back in the lobby. But as it stands, I can't get him there. So, Colored Lonely gets himself up to P4, overtaking Han Solo. And let's see how that one develops for him. Lyra, I suppose, has to pit later on, and the gap, taking the calculations, is about 9 to 10 seconds. There's about 9 to 10 seconds of a difference between P1 and P4, so if Lyra has to pit again, it might be quite dicey for Lyra. He does have the softer tire, even though it's an older tire. He does have the softer tire. It's only a 5-lap difference between the set of tires from Colored Lonely and Lyra. Maybe Lyra is going to try to extend these mediums until the end of the race. If he pits again, he's going to probably pit for softs and have massive advantage in pace compared to Colored Lonely. Of course, let's not forget, Colored Lonely still has to contend with these two. These two are not ghosted, so they are going to have to battle it out, just like Brazen is trying to have a go around the outside of Taraku. Didn't quite work, but Taraku has double the tire wear, or sorry, double the laps of usage on his tires at the moment, and Brazen gets a better exit, going to get the RS, and it's going to be as well smooth sailing for the Red Bull driver as he gets past the Alfa Romeo. Will the Alfa Romeo retaliate? No, he is too far behind, and Brazen moves up to P2. There's 5.5 seconds separating him from the top place. Colored Lonely is 9 seconds behind the leader. It's going to be rather interesting. Lyra, if he's going to pit, is probably going to pit onto softs, so, or maybe into another set of mediums. Actually, coming to think about it, the softs at the start of the race only lasted about 5 to 6 laps, so we might have to be forced to go into another set of mediums. So if he does that, he's still going to have a pace advantage on Colored Lonely, and then we are going to have a situation just like we had yesterday at the actual Hungarian Grand Prix, as George gets overtaken by Progza, who moves up to P6. It is indeed very unfortunate to see George ghosted like this. Let's see how that one goes, if he can rejoin or not. He's in chat at the moment. And yeah, looks like he won't be able to rejoin, so it is very unfortunate to see that. And yeah, hopefully anything I can say is just good luck next time. Unfortunately, this is it for his Grand Prix. Fortunately, he's ghosted, so he's not going to really be a disturbance onto anybody else's race, as Taraku is already dropping his pace quite a bit to Brazian. As you can see, the gap is already over 1.5 seconds. 6 seconds separate Lyra from Brazian, so Lyra is still gaining time on Brazian, and Colored Lonely is gaining time on Taraku. So it's basically the same gap between Taraku to Brazian and Colored Lonely to the Alfa Romeo. I am sure Colored Lonely is going to start closing in. Of course, Taraku, I don't think he has pitted yet. Has he pitted yet? Wait. No, he hasn't pitted yet. Taraku has not pitted yet. So, which is quite weird, because it shows him as having 12 laps of tires, as we are in lap number 13. I guess he's currently on his 13th lap, but he has completed 12 laps on his tires. So, I guess that's it. I guess that's how the game measures the tire life on these cars. Because in lap 1 you start with 0 laps of usage, right? 0 laps completed, so that's why you have 12 there. And Cohen Blake has retired. He was in last place, so I don't know if he just went into the pits to retire. Doesn't look like so potentially just a crash for him. We are currently going through the second sector with the Racing Point, and there you have Cohen Blake lost the rear at the exit of turn number 8 and blunted himself on the wall to the right hand side there. Colored Lonely having a bit of an off coming out of the exit of corner number 10, and is going to have easy pickings from Taraku, I'm sure of that. Crime is also getting pressurized by Radek, so we are going to jump into that in a second. You can see how careful on the throttle Colored Lonely was, trying to make sure he got a better exit. He's going to have DRS mode number 4 on ERS as well, and he gets himself passed into P3. So now going to take a look at the battle for P11. Radek has been closing down Crime, so I am sure we are going to have a battle on the 1 kilometer long straight from turn number 13 to turn number 14. Going on board with him. Crime got a little bit understeery there, so Radek is going to take advantage of that to take a better exit. He's going to take the slipstream. He's going to be able to take the DRS as well. Looks like he's not close enough to make an overtaking attempt, maybe into turn 1. We have Taraku going into the pits finally. Let's see what he's going to switch onto. He's going to switch onto a set of hards. So it's medium to hard for Taraku, completing therefore his one-stop strategy. Proxa has also been closing down on and solo, and Gary Gunn actually gets past Taraku coming out of the pits. Now, taking a look at Proxa, who's hunting down Han Solo there. Lasher is also taking a look of that one. So I'm going to take a look at that one as Lasher, I'm going to jump into the Haas, as Prime sitting in the house to witness the battle for 4th place and potentially even get himself past all of them. He needs to try to get a bit of a switchback, or just try to be as smooth as he can on the power. He does have softer tires. That's what he does. He's getting a bit tight there on the corner. I'm not sure that's going to help him. He needed a wide approach to then straighten out the exit as much as he could. It might be actually 3 wide into turn number 13. Proxa didn't get as good of a run as he was hoping for to overtake Han Solo. This might be a 3 wide battle for P4. Lasher goes down on the brakes. He has to look to both mirrors there to try to respect. The camera didn't quite help. Proxa gets wide and Solo gets demoted to P6 nonetheless. Very unfortunate there from the Williams driver. He had to take the tightest approach to corner number 13 and therefore the slowest approach as well. Gets himself down a place. Gary Gunn is battling it out with Taraku as Taraku got himself DRS. He has brand new tires. It's gonna be a traction battle now for P9. Taraku has to stay put in P10 for the time being. Let's see if the Alfa Romeo is able to overtake now. He's going to have the RS available once again on the rundown into turn 1. Let's see if he's going to be bravest on the brakes. He's going to get himself down the inside, and up he goes. Moves himself up to P9. Will Gary Gunn have a chance of a switchback? No, he does not. He's going to get himself down to a P10. Black Widow getting now up a place from the disconnection of George. Very unfortunate, but Black Widow still having a respectable 7th place there, despite the sickness or the lack of well-being she is feeling at the moment. Very good performance from the Red Bull driver. Progza has already lost over a second to Lasher, so Lasher making use of his softer compound to pull away from the Ferrari, and Colored Lonely is maintaining this 10-second gap to Lyra. Lyra is gaining head over fist time to Brazian. Colored Lonely has tires a bit fresher than Brazian, but this is still going to be quite the battle for a P2 that might cost them the precious seconds they need to keep away from Lyra once Lyra pits for another set of mediums. Not sure when that will happen. I would expect that to happen in the next 3 laps or so. But if Lyra is going to pit again, I'm not sure if it's going to be for softs or for mediums. I believe it's going to be for mediums, but let's see. Gary Gunn having another round of that battle for P9 with Taraku. Taraku is going to take the switch back. George finally goes into the pits, even though it's his ghost car. But Gary Gunn managing to get himself up to a P9. Taraku is going to get the DRS at the moment, but looks like he's too far away as they both get promoted to P8 and P9. Taraku had a look down the inside, but Gary Gunn is just too far away for the Alfa Romeo driver to try to get anything done. The tires, they are both hards, even though Taraku has 7 laps fresher tires, is not quite actually able to capitalize on that and get past the Renault. Looking at the remaining positions, yes, these are the 2 cars that are the closest to each other on the track, so for the time being we are going to have these 2 if we are going to have any chance of on-track battles. Of course, Colored Lonely might still be slowly but surely catching up with Brazian, even though I'm not quite sure of that. The gap has been maintained at 2.5, so let's see in the laps to come if Colored Lonely can actually challenge Brazian. Let's see how that one goes. You can see on this very good camera shot the difference in approaches to the corners. Gary Gunn getting a bit wider entry into turn number 13. There is contact between the Alfa Romeo and the Renault, getting a bit too eager on the throttle, not taking the attention he probably should have, and getting himself a bit greedy on the throttle there. Gary Gunn is definitely having a bit more trouble putting the power down, courtesy of his tires being a little bit more worn out, and he loses an opportunity to move up to 8th place. Both of them are going to get promoted now to 7th and 8th, I would say, as Anselo is on his way down to the Williams garage. 16 laps was what he did on that set of tires. I don't know if this is lag or if he has a stop and go penalty. Looks like he did have a stop and go penalty. He's going to change onto medium tires. Unfortunately, that stop and go penalty is going to bring him down to P10, even behind Radek. P11 behind George, even though he's going to get past George rather soon. Now, going to take a look. Yes, Colored Lonely is maintaining, is not capable of closing in on Brazian. So at this point, Lyra is going to pit, and Brazian is going to have a great chance at taking this race win, because Colored Lonely is actually losing time. He's lost a 10th in the previous lap. It's very fine margins, but this can also be very enjoyable parts of the race, because these 2 drivers are actually not battling wheel to wheel, but they are still pushing each other. They are pressurizing each other. Colored Lonely is trying to be the fast he can to try to pressurize Brazian into a mistake, and Brazian needs to be as smooth as he can, just focus on his tires, focus on nailing every single apex he can, drive smoothly to make sure his tires don't fall off too quickly, because they are older. He knows that his tires are older compared to the Racing Point behind him, so he needs to be smooth on the power, needs to have smooth inputs on his car, and just focus on his lap times, trying to do the best job he can to avoid losing time to the Racing Point, and therefore having a battle that could cost not only him but also Colored Lonely the race win. Going to take a look at Black Widow, who's going to the pits to get a new set of medium tires, so she is going to have brand new tires compared to to her competition. 15 laps old hards on Radek. Garrigan has 11 lap old hards, so those two drivers might pit. Progza might also pit later on. Taraku is certainly not going to pit until the end of the race. Not sure if Lasher, I believe Lasher and Lyra are on the same strategy. Yes, they are on the same strategy, so I'm not sure those two guys are going to pit once again. I believe so. I'm pretty sure they've been practicing together, but are the mediums enough to go from lap, lap 6 to the end of the race? They would have to do over 20 laps, and people on the hards are pitting with about 15, 17, 18 laps on their hard tires, so I highly doubt that the mediums can go from lap 6 to the end of the races. And Solo has retired from the session. I believe that might be another disconnection. Going to try to take a look at him, and it is, where is he? That was quite funny there to see. It was completely invisible, just like George. But yeah, P10 and 11 are disconnected from the race, hopefully, and Solo can get back on the track and still try to claim a position. Lyra finally goes into the pits. A brand new set of mediums for him, and this is where this race will get interesting. Will Lasher now battle Lyra for the place, or will Lasher actually serve as a good wingman and actually give slipstream and DRS to Lyra and then pull off into the pits at the end of next lap? It's going to be quite interesting to see in the laps to come. In the meantime, Colored Lonely has gained a couple tenths on the previous lap. I'm actually going to take a look at the race director. Looks like there is peace on the track at the moment, so let's take a look. 3 seconds of penalties for Brazian, so Brazian needs to pull away from Colored Lonely, who only has 1 warning, maybe not even for corner cutting, but just for contact in the early laps. Also a warning for Lasher. Lyra has 0 warnings, 0 warnings from Progza. Gary Gunn has 0 warnings as well. Taraku, 0 warnings. Very disciplined fields today. Black Widow got 2 warnings in lap number 3, but no other warning system, so no penalties. George is disconnected, of course, and Crime got 2 warnings and a 3rd warning, but no penalties. So one of those warnings was probably for contact in the opening lap. Lyra finally got past Lasher. So let's take a look at that as Lasher goes into the pits. Progza moves up to P4, but I'm sure the number 31 of the Ferrari is going to have to pit rather soon as well. 8 laps to go. I'm pretty sure he's going to pit in about 2 laps to check on a set of softs and just try to, first of all, get the fastest lap of the race. Second of all, trying to get himself on the podium. Let's see if that is available or on the cards for the Ferrari driver. Black Widow, fastest lap of the race with a 1:35.6. Of course, Lyra is going to start pushing now. I'm expecting Lyra to get the fastest lap of the race in the next lap. Let's see how that one goes. Colored Lonely has been very little margins, but he has closing in on Brazen. It's about 2.2 seconds the difference now, and Brazian, at the moment, if the race finishes right now, Brazian is actually behind Colored Lonely, because Brazian has again that 3-second time penalty. Colored Lonely doesn't have any penalties by his name. Lyra also doesn't have any penalties to his name. It is a 10 and 11 second gap between Lyra and Brazian. Colored Lonely is only less than 9 seconds behind. Colored Lonely is less than 9 seconds ahead of Lyra. So it is going to be interesting to see what is the pace of Lyra compared to Colored Lonely. Of course, Lyra, I am expecting him to get the new fastest lap of the race. Let's see what he does. Yes, indeed, 1:35.1. Let's actually jump at the race director to compare that lap to the pace of Colored Lonely. It was a 1:35, right? Colored Lonely just got the best sector 2 of his race so far and is losing about 2 seconds. Yeah, I would say low 37s, high 36s. So he just lost 2 seconds on the previous lap to Lyra. So it is going to be rather interesting until the end of the race. Maybe Colored Lonely should pit soon to go for the fastest lap on a set of softs. Or maybe he thinks he can just battle Lyra until the end of the race. There is 9 laps difference on the tire usage between Colored Lonely and Lyra, and an even bigger gap to Brazian, who is already on his 15th lap on the hard compound of tires. So we are going to take a look at how that one develops as we look into the battle for 8th place. We have Taraku closing in on the Red Bull ahead of him. And then Black Widow also is almost under second from Gary Gunn. So Taraku has 6th place on his sides. Let's see how that one develops. It's going to be quite interesting, especially as Gary Gunn is on his 14th lap on the hard tires. So Black Widow is for sure closing in on Gary Gunn. And Taraku is a bit too far away to do anything about it. So I would say Taraku is going to miss a big opportunity to close down Black Widow. Of course, Black Widow is on softer tires and also fresher tires, so I would assume her to be able to pull away from Taraku. But despite the circumstances that she is facing, she gets the RS and moves up to P7. Great maneuver, great overtaking there, and up to P6 she is. Now, let's see how the situation is for Colored Lonely. The pace on Brazian is starting to falter a little bit. Colored Lonely is starting to gain time a little bit quicker than before to Brazian. The gap is now 2.1. Lyra though is gaining about 2 seconds per lap. He doesn't even have to push at this point and still gain enough time that by the end of the race he is really close, if not already past Colored Lonely. Let's see how that one goes. As you can see on that shot of the camera, Lyra wasn't still quite on the shots there as he went through turns 12 and 13, but this camera might be a good indication. You can see there Lyra, this is a good boost in confidence as a driver. You can, when you can actually see your rival down the end of the stretch and lap after lap you can see that you are physically closing in, that gives you quite a boost in confidence. And I'm fairly sure that is exactly what's going through the head of Lyra right now. He had yellow flags through one of the sectors, couldn't quite catch what sector that was, but Asiox last place at the moment. Another disastrous performance for the McLaren team. Asiox got 9th place at Australia, but both McLarens haven't scored any points since then. They have only 2 points so far on the season, courtesy of Asiox 9th place at Australia. So looks like this race weekend is another one to forget for the Papaya Orange car. Let's see now, once again, Lyra 5 seconds away from Colored Lonely. Taraku is 3 seconds away from Gary Gunn, so maybe it was Taraku getting those yellow flags deployed in sector 2, because he wasn't that far away from Gary Gunn, if I recall correctly, and he should already be on the back of him, especially considering the amount of laps that are in difference between the tire usage of both drivers. Black Widow has already pulled away by 2.5 seconds, and she has basically the same tires as Lasher. Lasher was slower at Bahrain, not sure about in this circuit, at least he qualified quicker, so in theory Lasher is a bit more comfortable around this track. So I'm not sure if Black Widow is going to be able to take 8 seconds from Lasher, or at least 7 to get into the RS range and then try to make it a fight. Colored Lonely has made a mistake though in the past couple laps, because it is 2.7 now, the gap between Colored Lonely and Brazian. So the gap has increased once again, and Lyra is the only one to benefit with that. He's going to have Colored Lonely put up a fight, I am sure of, but then Brazian might be able to gain time from the battle between Lyra and Colored Lonely, and then Brazian might be able to actually take home the win. Let's see how that goes. He has 6 seconds to the leader, 4 seconds to second place, 4 laps to go. This is definitely going to go right down to the wire for the race win. Let's not forget Brazian has a 3-second time penalty, so Lyra doesn't even have to close in that much on Brazian. As soon as he overtakes Colored Lonely, he is automatically, I would say, the race winner. Let's see how that one goes. Colored Lonely really needs to fend off Lyra, needs to really focus instead of hunting down Brazian. He's now the one being hunted, especially after that mistake which cost him basically half a second on Brazian. And we all know Lyra is gaining about 2 seconds per lap For those of you who have missed it, he's gaining 2 seconds per lap on Colored Lonely. You can already see him. He doesn't even need to get to the long back straight to take a look at Colored Lonely's Force India. He is right on his size, 3.5 seconds separating Lyra from the racing point, and it's only going to go down from here. None of the drivers have penalties, so that is something in favor of Colored Lonely. But Colored Lonely, oh, that looks like there was a mistake from Brazian, because Colored Lonely is already in 2 seconds flat of Brazian. So if Colored Lonely starts getting DRS from Brazian, you can see it's 5 laps fresher tires on Lonely's car. If he starts getting into DRS range of Brazian, things might actually help him quite a bit. Lyra might just be out of reach. Let's see how that one develops though. Looking up and down the order, no cars are closer on track than this was. We have someone making a mistake. Was it Taraku again? I believe so. Why is Taraku already 8 seconds away from Gary Gunn? He had basically the Renault on his sides. So I don't know if Taraku just made mistakes or if Gary Gunn is just quicker today. Got yellow flags, not sure what that was, and Solo is going to the pits and gets dropped down into last place. But yeah, going to jump back into the battle for the race win. 3 laps to go here in this Chinese Grand Prix of the Tier 2 of the Wheel-to-Wheel Racing League. And it's still all wide open. Crime gets a 3-second time penalty. That is not going to allow him to get past. Actually, I'm not sure in the rules. I'm not sure. Will George disconnected, is beating almost half the fields today, which is quite weird to look at. But will George get awarded the 9th place finish? I am not sure, because I'm not sure if Crime can actually pull away. Lasher gets a 3-second time penalty, so he's not going to really be able to overtake Progza, I would say. Black Widow is too far behind to take advantage of that though. So looks like 5th place is on the cards for Lasher. Colored Lonely is able to maintain 2 seconds from Lyra. It's exactly 2 seconds. Actually dropped down to 1.7 as we approach now turn number 1. Colored Lonely is trying his best to survive. He's closing in on Brazian as well, just not at enough pace to get DRS from Brazian that would help him defend. They are basically at the same distance, Lyra to Colored Lonely and Colored Lonely to Brazian. So it is really going to come down to the wire. Lasher also is closing in on Progza, but Lasher has 3 seconds of time penalties. I'm not sure if Progza has any penalties of his own, so Lasher needs to really get on with it and try to overtake the Ferrari if he wants to get 4th place and then pull away unless the Ferrari has penalties of his own. Georgia has finally dropped down to P10, but I actually do not know if Georgia is going to get awarded the top 10 or not in case he finishes in that place, or if Radek will be the one getting promoted to P10. We have yellow flags in the 3rd sector, not sure who has caused them. Maybe it goes the egg. I'm not sure. Aziox got past though, and Georgia is still keeping up with Crime, which is quite funny to see, to be honest. Lyra in DRS range. No, he's not in DRS range. He is in within a second though, and look at the difference into braking. Much more confidence on the part of the As there. Gains 2/10 on that braking zone alone. He's definitely going to get DRS into turn number 1. Progza and Lasher already battling it out. Who will get DRS? It is Lasher getting DRS. Progza actually got a better exit, but you can see now Lasher starting to pull away. Lasher needs to get 3 seconds on Progza in case the Ferrari doesn't have any penalties. So despite that valiant battle, Lasher might still get demoted down to a P5. Lyra, we have exactly 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Brazian knows he has 3 seconds of time penalties. The cars behind him don't have any penalties to their name, so Brazian is at best case scenario 3rd place at the moment. It's going to be all out battle for the race win between Lyra and Colored Lonely. You can see Colored Lonely has over twice the laps done on his hards than Lyra has on the mediums. Lyra is going to have DRS rather soon. Just taking a look at the amount of ERS, Colored Lonely does have a little bit of extra ERS that might come into his advantage but nonetheless, the gap is less than half a second now. Lyra is much more confident now on the brakes. Look at that, even closes down on the braking zone into turn number 12. Let's you get the better exit. The tires from Colored Lonely must not be feeling great. Lyra has all the grip in the world at the moment, or at least just enough to get himself right on Colored Lonely's gearbox. Is going to get the arrest, come out of the slipstream, and it is going to be second place for Lyra at the moment. Colored Lonely does not have even the slight chance to respond, and is going to have to maintain P3 at the moment. Now, can he put enough pressure on Lyra to force him into a mistake? It is not really likely, I would say, but he has to try it. Lasher might actually conquer fourth place, as he's already 2.5 seconds away from Progza, who's on his 21st lap on hards. He pitted on the same lap as Brajan, so he's about to start his 22nd lap on his hard tires, and it is rather unfortunate to see Brazian in terms of the on-track position. He managed to pull away, or to keep Colored Lonely away. Didn't have a battle in terms of on-track. He's still away from Lyra, but he does have that 3-second time penalty by his name. And just taking a last look, Colored Lonely doesn't have any penalties, and Lyra doesn't have any as well. Brajan still has that 3-second time penalty. Hasn't he just got an outright 3-second time penalty. He didn't even get warnings previous to that one, so it is rather unfortunate. But there you have it. Lyra half a second away from Brazen. Is he actually going to try to overtake the Red Bull into the last corner, or the last corners of this Grand Prix? Let's see how it goes. He's going to have the Red Bull on his sides. The Red Bull might gain the RS from Aziox McLaren though. Let's see how that one goes. No, the flap is not open on his car. Lyra moves on to the inside and overtakes Brazen. And there you have it. It's going to be it or not. Brazen is going to try to get back at the Haas, and they are going side by side. Let's see how it goes. There might actually be contact. Lyra gets why there's contact with Lyra, and there you have it. It's going to be Brazen crossing the line in first, but Colored Lonely crosses over the line to take home the win of the Chinese Grand Prix. What happened in the last corner? Lyra making a mistake, allowing Brazen to have will-to-will contact there. Lyra drops down to P3. I'm pretty sure the stewards are going to have to look at that, but it's going to be Colored Lonely taking P1, Brazen P2, Lyra P3, Lasher P4, Progza P5, Black Widow in P6, and then we have Gary Gunn in P7. Wozniak has already left the races. He was a lap down and got already done with his race. And there you have it. We have Gary Gunn in P7, Taraku in P8. Hopefully, oh sorry, wrong button there. George is going to finish in P9. So Crime had a mistake. Crime dropped down a few places. So George, a ghost car, is going to get overtaken by Radek, I believe, but or is he not? I'm not sure if George is actually going to be able to take home the 2 points awarded for 9th place. There you have Radek in P10, Crime gets P11, and Aziox, the Frenchman, is going to get himself in 12th place. So now we are going to get ourselves with the podium celebrations. I would in most times I would actually get an interview with these guys. I'm not sure if I should do the interview. Things might be quite hot between Brajan and Lyra. I'm not sure if I should go to the interview, but there you have it. The Frenchman crosses outside of the points once again, 12th place. And once again, 0 points scored for the McLaren team. Not the greatest start of the season to these first 3 races of the championship. So, we are getting now the celebration procedures. Of course, nothing has happened with Colored Lonely, so he is able to take the win. All the issues are between the Haas and the Red Bull driver. And there you have it. What a performance there from Colored Lonely. Didn't give up, and Lyra just made a mistake. He took last corner too tight, allowed Brazen to come around the outside, and you always have to battle it out, right? Maybe he didn't know if Lyra had penalties or not, so you always try to go for it. He it was side by side. He got the inside of the last corner. So Lira, despite having the better tires, he wasn't actually able to get better traction out of the last corner, and that caused that whole incident. So there you have it. I'm not sure if these are going to be the official results, but for now we have Colin only in P1, Brace in P2, Lira P3, Lasher P4, Proxa P5, Black Widow in 6, Garrigan in 7, Taraku in P8, George P9, I'm not sure about that as well, and Radek in P10. So I am not sure if I'm going to actually talk to Rob Stark about this one. Give me a moment, guys. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, I don't think the guys are probably quite mad. It's I understand that emotions are high, right? So yeah, well, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not going to interview them because yeah, things might get hot, and yeah, I understand fully. I've been on both sides of those incidents as well, and I can fully understand if they are not up to just a casual chat, right? So yeah, guys, this is it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like button. If you did not, the dislike button is, as always, right beside it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hit the bell icon for any notifications of whenever we are about to start a live stream or to post any sort of video. Hope to see you guys next time, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.